Hey everyone, Mitchell Venus here with you again. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me on the channel for another video, taking the time to support our work. Thank you so much. I want to ask you to share, comment, and like whenever possible, whenever you want. We're building the channel now, so I need your help. I need your feedback, okay? Interact there. Today we're going to do the character shirt. So now we're moving on, right, to the costume design, to the character's outfit. So let's get to it without further ado, okay? Let's start here. All right. So here we gradually decrease the level of opacity for the main body of our character. From this point, we begin the process of carefully constructing the overall structure of the t-shirt. Okay, you see folks, do you realize just how incredibly good it is to have a well-defined, anatomically correct and well-drawn body for you to put the costume on? This is truly excellent, man. Because when you have such a solid foundational base to work with, you will know exactly where to place each individual fold and every single little crease in the fabric. I'm using a reference here, okay? But it's not the same character, it's not the same body. I'm using a visual reference right here in front of me of a muscular, strong individual wearing a simple t-shirt or a shirt. But like I said, it's not exactly the same character I'm drawing here. The bodybuilder is a completely different one. But as you, over time, as you develop this intuitive sense of anatomy and form, the more you draw costumes, the more you understand the body, the anatomy, you manage to adapt, right? The reference you have for the clothing for this character we're working on here, even if this character isn't the same as the one in the clothing reference. Okay, so when we look at the body, right? Specifically, if we look at the physique of a bodybuilder, you see it is already much more pronounced and more distinctly shaped. It possesses a higher level of definition with clear muscularity, which creates a certain level of aesthetic complexity and physical power that is very clear to see. A more privileged form, if I can put it that way, than a normal body, you know? It already creates a better outline in the clothing. It gives the clothes a better fit. So you can see here that as I'm working on things here, I'm always keeping an eye on the musculature, the form, the shape of the character. There are things here that aren't in my reference. I'm adding them myself on my own, precisely because the character's body requires it, okay? So here I more or less know where to place the wrinkles, the creases, okay? At this transition from the shoulder to the arm to the biceps and triceps. So all of this sense, my God, how can I put this? These tricks, right? You pick them up over time. So it's all about practicing. So when I draw clothes on a character, I really feel like I'm dressing a real person, guys. Okay? That's what fascinates me most about my work. I like that. I really get lost in it, you know? It's like I'm practically creating a person. You understand? I treat my drawings as if they were real people. I don't just see them as drawings or illustrations. I want as much realism as possible. So here I do it like I do everything else. I make a first layout, then I do a second layout. I'm always defining, always refining the lines more and more. And so everyone, this is very important. You have to see this clothing as it would be in real life. Imagine how it would look if it were an actual piece of clothing, how it would be sewn together, what kind of fabric this clothing could be made of. You get it? You'll see that I'm going to add some accessories, some stripes here, some strips actually, right? And then I'll add a collar and everything. I mean, I already visualize this shirt as if it were real, you know? Although some things, like I mentioned about these strips on the shirt, I couldn't find a reference shirt exactly like the one I have in mind, but I have an idea based on my experience with materials of what this shirt could be made of, how it could be crafted if it were real. So having this idea, knowing the fabric, knowing the texture of the fabric, you know, I can imagine it better. I can develop my idea better. That makes all the difference. So it's not just a shirt. It's not just a drawing of a shirt. I'm basically making it as if I were sending it to a tailor and saying, make this shirt for me. And I would even specify the material, you know? You understand? It would be made of silk. This collar would be linen. Then this tie would be made of such and such material. These strips would be of a thicker wool, of a thicker thread, all woven together with these colors, and so on and so forth. And I would explain all the details to the tailor, you know? I have this ability in my mind to explain, okay? So that's how you should imagine it. Your costume too, okay? Try to imagine it exactly as if it were a real physical costume, because if you don't have a really good sense of how the fabric behaves, you'll end up making a lot of things that will look quite strange later on. It'll just end up looking far too fantastical and unrealistic, okay? So I want you to do this in a very careful way. In as realistic a way as possible. Picture this in your mind as realistically as possible, okay? See these strips here? If I had to describe it, I would know exactly how to describe it to a tailor. I have the material here with me. Not just a photo, but the actual material here with me, real material, which I could show to the tailor and say, I want you to adapt it for these, this, and that. I see this shirt in a real way, just as it is. Just like the accessories, the bracelets, the shoes, the color type, the fabric type, it doesn't matter. And that's what you need to understand here, okay? This involves research. This involves being familiar with what you want to work with, okay? So, and here you can see that I'm making this strip, but you must make sure that you are always following along very closely with the details of the character's shape, always following the character's body, imagining how this strip would work on a silk shirt, which is the material I picture for this shirt, okay? Whether these strips go in front of or behind the tie. Imagining an opening there in that strap that goes over the shoulder, the one I'm working on now, those strips that go over the shoulder, because that's where the cloak will come out from. That's where there will be an opening for his cape. So you have to imagine all of this, okay? All of this you have to keep in your mind. That's something experience will give you. The references. And by even just observing your own clothes, you understand the materials they're made of. You start to understand, because here, since it's a silk shirt, it has a lot of folds, a lot of creases, different from one made of another material. Remember what I told you about the masculine and feminine sides. So now we're going to do that here. I could have put this part in the accessory. Okay, everyone, that's why, but well, so I'm going to build the rest of the accessory here on the shirt. I also think I really have to do it directly on the shirt here, precisely because there are reasons for that. There's a correct place for these symbols to be attached to the shirt, so I really have to do it directly on the shirt, on these strips, which is where this accessory will be supported. Okay. Hold on, I'm going to use these masculine and feminine symbols, all right? I'm constantly using references and always using what the internet can provide to make my work easier. So you have to take advantage of all of this. This baby here that I made, I had already drawn it before. Guys, here it's simple. I took a drawing from the internet and traced over it, okay? Nothing difficult about it. I simply traced over it, just like I did with Jesus over there that we have. And I did the same with this little baby. I found a silhouette and traced exactly over it. Okay? And here I'm placing, I'm doing the composition, right? Taking the measurements so everything turns out exactly the same. See, I told you that I should have done it together with the crucifix, but you can see there's a proper place for them to be. And I have to take all these measurements the right way, right? So that they're composed, so that they look harmonious on this strip. It has to be a size that looks harmonious, that makes for a good composition. So it really had to be on top of the strips, okay? Here I'm going to make it as if it were an umbilical cord. This here, folks, I'm coming up with this myself, okay? I don't have any reference for this. I'm making this up myself. This jewel, this ornament. So this is all from my own imagination. So I keep working on it, shaping it here. Testing to see if it works. Actually, folks, indirectly, this here is a uterus, right? It's as if it were a uterus. It's inspired by a uterus. There in place of the ovaries are the babies, right? And there in place of the uterus of the female genital organ, you have this Jesus. That would be more or less the idea. Okay? I believe it worked out. That was more or less what I wanted to do, to have this accessory here. And then later we'll put on the cape, right? We're going to make the pants too, don't worry. Okay? Well, folks, I think that's it. All right? It's over, everyone. That's it. You saw that our friend's hair here turned out different, right? Because it follows that line I mentioned when I was doing the hair here with you. I was testing out various hairstyles, so I put it that way there, but the creative process is like that, everyone. It's totally. It's ever changing. We keep changing the idea, even in the final cleanup phase of tracing the drawing, you know, cleaning up the drawing. We change it until the very last minute. I hope you guys liked it. Once again, like, comment, and share. I'm being very emphatic about this, right? These are the first videos, okay? Later, you can really tell me if you're getting tired of me saying all this, but it has to be this way, guys, to help the channel grow, all right? So leave your ideas, your feedback, your critiques, if it's good, if it's understandable, if it's not, all right? Because there's still video. A whole lot more for us to do here just for this project to give you an idea. All right. Thank you so much then. Stay with God and until the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.